I first have the opportunity to introduce on my left hand side, around its position has changed. Uh, on the top right corner of my screen, Mrs. Silva Sarkar. Silva has done her MBA from BIMTech and has more than 14 years of experience in generalist HR. She has worked with organizations like Plantanoon, Big Bazaar, and Easy Day Club. She is currently leading the HR function at Max Fashions and Central Max Fashions Limited. And she's known to me for such a long time, almost, I think by now, by almost 8-9 years. So we have had long association with her. She has taken my, she has accepted my request to participate in this webinar, this colloquium, to express her views. The colloquium, as we know, is today's, the title is HR Expectation from Gen Z post COVID-19. I will briefly say what it is exactly, but before that, I would like to also introduce Mr. Alok Tagore, who is also very well known to me. Mr. Alok Tagore is currently the regional talent leader for East for Deloitte India. He's a graduate in commerce and a postgraduate in business management, and he has been a veteran in the HR fraternity in the eastern part. Prior to joining Deloitte, he had significant tenures with PwC, KPMG, and Tata Finance Limited, and a short tenure in Bangladesh. During his stint as an HR professional, Alok has worked in all the functional domains of HR and had opportunities to work on and implement some of the global best practices across this big force, including leading the implementation of PeopleSoft in PwC India in record time. While in PwC, he represented the PwC India practice at the PwC Asia G7 HR Summit at Taiwan. In Deloitte, he has led the HR process integration of Bangladesh practice with South Asia cluster. He has always been acknowledged as people's person and speaker and believes in remaining connected to people. He is regularly invited as guest speakers in different places, in different campuses and HR forums to share his experiences. He has apart from this, he has a keen interest in music, literature, and sports, which he feels have helped him to develop more as an HR professional. So we have the two panelists today in front of us. One is Mrs. Silva Sarkar with a varied background, and Mr. Alok Tagore again with a different varied background. And it's a privilege to introduce both of them, which I have done so far. And the topic of today is, as we know, HR expectations from Gen Z post COVID-19. Now, Gen Z are those who are born, as we understand, after 1995 till date. So they're almost in this age group of, say, 25, 26, like that, right? There are different theories, different views on this, but practically standard, as we know, is like that. And they show different types of behavior at different point of time. And, you know, just on the borderline cases of this Gen Z and Gen Y, which is the previous one, they at times show this sort of behavioral pattern, which I think Mrs. Sarkar or Mr. Tagore will be able to give us in a much better way. So I leave it to them, this dais or this place, to make them understand, make the students and the participants understand what exactly the HRs expect from these Gen Z post COVID-19. Before that, before I turn it over to you, I will just try to see if I can have my director here, because he was there some few minutes back. If he is there, I'll try to ask him, or else I will talk to him and I'll ask him to join a little later. I think he is not right now, he's not connected, but I think we can start the process immediately right now. I request that, as we normally know, ladies first. So I request Mr. Sarkar to share her views on this subject.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya. It's a pleasure to address this colloquium today. As we all know, last few months have changed our perception about the workforce. We never realized we are in, I've been working with retail industry for past 14 years. I don't think we have ever realized that we can do a year ending closing in March sitting at home, and we have done that. Like nothing has been stopped because, we retail is one of the industries where heavily people intensive. So, many people depend on us for their employment. So after initial 2-3 months when there was peak of lockdown, after that from July we have started opening stores, and we have seen a shift in not only in our employees but also in the mind of our customers. So the entire shopping preference, the way we lead our lives, everything has changed. I will just give a very different example. The doctors nowadays, other than they are very, they have huge workload. Other than that, one thing which has increased heavily the pressure on doctors is that they are now seeing patients by, WhatsApp video calling. Many of the times the customers, the patients are not coming physically, and they are doing WhatsApp video calls to, check their reports and to see the condition of the reports, right from the, psychological counselings to the maternity patients. So this was one skill probably the doctors never, required. They never realized that they require a skill to use a WhatsApp video calling, right? But that has become very important for them during this pandemic, because people are not being able to travel, and it's not safe to travel for the patients. And doctors cannot really sit back at home and say, that we cannot treat. So if I come to the employee and the expectation from the Gen Z, or as we say, we have such long discussions about millennials. I'm sure Mr. Tagore will agree that, in every organization, handling the millennials itself has been a hot topic for last 5 years. I'll share one example where one new joining MT came to me one day and he said, can I talk to you for 5 minutes? I said, yes. He said, I see there is a gratuity component in my CTC and I want to know what is that. So the very moment I started explaining that, this is something, if you work for 5 years, he's like, hang on, what do you mean by 5 years? Do you think I'm going to work for this company for 5 years? And if I don't work, like, if I leave tomorrow, what is going to happen to the money that you have deducted last month? And I honestly did not have an answer, because my thinking process in terms of, is terms of all the legal compliances, that just doesn't make any sense to him. He's just not interested in gratuity or provident fund or ESIC or mediclaim, whatever. So these are simple examples which are coming to my mind. Now if I take that to the post COVID situation, what has increased is a remote working. So each and every employee has become accountable. All of a sudden I have given a laptop to a person and said, tum kahi bhi ghar mein baith ke kaam karo. And then his, data security and everything, and every other day I'm getting a report saying somebody has transferred data in his private, personal email ID. So all those things have, it was there earlier, but it was very minimal for us. But now it has every day become a challenge, because someone is sitting in their, remote village. They're not having data connectivity, but they're part of a digital collaboration team. So certain things, need to come from him. So people are using all kinds of, as I say, jugaad, which is a very Indian term. People are using all kinds of jugaad to do this. And that has also helped us to understand that how much people value their job roles, how much they identify with their job roles. I've seen employees who have, used a cycle, like, they cycle for 20 kilometers to reach their workplace. He could have easily said, he could have, taken an example where, they could have taken a leave or something, but they said, I understand, I'm critical for the store to open. If I cannot come, then the store will not open. So a security guard actually used to, cycle for 20 kilometers to come to his job place, because he wants to secure his job, and he also understands that his role is critical. At the same time, the temporary or the gig workers are on the rise, because many teams have, increased their numbers. So now, like, everyone is multi-skilling. Like, I had a recruitment person in my team. Suddenly she's doubling up also as the engagement person. So, to skill up as that, what do I mean by engagement? Suddenly if I start speaking to her very next day about the talent management initiative, she might be at a loss. She has the energy, but she has to learn also. So the typical multi-skilling, the way we understand, for a fresher, especially, I assume that most of these people are in management students who are going to, join their job this year or next year. as a management trainee or as a graduate trainee in most of the companies. So multi-skilling becomes very, very important. It doesn't matter whether you are in HR or marketing or operations, it just does not matter. It never means that, there will be a designated person to do a certain thing. It might be a marketing job, but it's very well HR's job as well. It might be purely a operations role, but if you are as a marketing person do not know that operations basic, it will be very difficult for you to plan those campaigns or even take part in those. So in retail or in manufacturing or in any industry, if you do not know the core business that you are in, it doesn't matter whether you are in marketing or HR or operations, if you do not know the core business, it becomes very difficult for you to sustain. So another thing which comes to my mind is the performance management system. The way we saw it, mid-year reviews, quarterly reviews, yearly, reviews has gone for a toss. Because what do you review? How do you review a person whom you have not seen for 6 months? Especially in retail, we have never faced this kind of a situation. We were very much into, weekly targets, monthly targets, all those things. But suddenly a very different set of skill sets, or I should say attributes, are on the rise when I see that a person is also doubling up as a customer service executive. A cashier is helping in video selling. They're making WhatsApp calls to customers. They're helping customers to choose garments. They are suddenly become experts in online apps, because we are selling through apps and online business itself is on rise. Whosoever you talk to, any retailer, the online business platform has started, even in smaller corners. So it gives rise to challenges even more, because the expectation from a brand or from a retailer is same whether you are in Agartala or in Chandigarh or in Kolkata. So you cannot just say to a customer in Agartala or Silchar that no, your location is remote, so I will take 15 days extra. That customer will never come back to you. So to train our team, to align our teams, it has become very important. And also the idea of the employer, because people always say that, whenever I ask somebody, what do you work for? Generally for a fresher, the answer always comes money. But the idea of the best employer, I think, has changed during this pandemic. People have started seeing employer in a very different view, in terms of the medical supports, in terms of the supports emotionally, not only financially. How frequently your employer is touch base with you, how they're getting connected, all those things. Because now you cannot take them to a on site. There is no this year end parties are now in history. Team lunch outs and all those, the engagement activities that used to happen, all those things have not happened this year. But that is not an excuse for not getting connected to your team. So how do you find innovative ways to get connected with your team? How do you find fun ways to engage your team? That has also become a very different sort of a challenge. And the compensation structure, of course, has changed, because people have now they do not want a fixed kind of a compensation. So people are looking into more into choice based. So these are for HRs, that has become a challenge, not for the workforce itself. And lastly, I would like to emphasize on the self development of any employee, because especially during pandemic, plethora of online learning platforms have opened. I mean, a platform like Udemy or Coursera or edX was always there, but many people did not participate wholeheartedly, or they did not understand the importance. But this online training programs, some of them are free, some of them are at a very nominal charges, but they have given a scope to the employees to reskill themselves. So one of my employees came up and says that during the lockdown, I have learned video editing. So I was like, how did you learn it? He's like, I have a phone. I have a phone, and I have downloaded some software. I saw some YouTube videos and have learned. So this time when we are doing this retail employees day, today is also retail employees day, 12th December. So that employee has actually made a video who he himself has edited in his phone, and has made it for his store team. So maybe it's not related directly with his skills that are required for his work job role, but he is feeling more attached, more enriched, as he's being used, he's being able to use his hobbies also into the paradigm of his job. So these are some things. I think self-development is one thing which has come out very importantly, where the employees have to take the initiatives. The HRs are of course helping, almost all the organizations have upped their learning platforms, LMS, but ultimately it's the onus is on the employee. How do they want to reskill themselves? How do they want to come back more resilient? Because I don't think going back to the office is happening very soon. But the work does not stop. The show doesn't stop. So how do you are in your village or in your house, or you're managing your household course. You see time management in a very different point of view, especially the when your household helps are not available, and you are also managing a team where you are accountable. So these are basic soft skills where even today banks are training their employees on soft skills, because many distress sales are happening. People are using started inquiring about future investment options. So banks are also reskilling their employees. Hospitals are reskilling their employees. So I think we are at a complete, I should say, crossroad, which will show us the future of our workforce strategies. Over to you, Mr. Bhattacharya.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sarkar, what you said. Well, what I can understand from your deliberation is three issues. What you said. One is stressing on the core areas. One. Two is understanding the logic, what exactly they should do and how you're looking at it, right? Particularly in the areas of retail business. Three, integrating these two skills probably, and harness them so that they can sustain in the long run. Okay, am I right?
Yes, and also the complexity of the workforce, because that has
Okay.
increased manifold. You are not anymore just part of one team or given to one project. You are at the same time you are handling multiple things. So complexities in terms of maybe multiple roles, multiple bosses, multiple locations. So that has increased. So handling that itself, that's a skill that people need to learn.
So that means mobility part, as you normally say, right? That is important, right? So I have heard your view. Now, the second part is Mr. Tagore's chance. Okay. Now, Mr. Tagore, I would request you to share your views, and then we will, discuss about these different points. Okay. Mr. Tagore, to
Yeah,
you, please.
thank you so much. And first of all, let me thank you for inviting me on this webinar. Uh, this is something very, very important and very interesting, because we all are looking forward to it. It's just not the Gen Y or Gen Z. Even the baby boomers and the earlier generations, every one of us are looking at what's going to happen post COVID. So one of the key points, and I think Mrs.
Yeah.
Sharkar covered it fantastic. I mean, most of the points were so relevant, and I was actually thinking that these are the things that we as HR are thinking all around. Uh, One of the key things that have come out is
Mr. Tagore, can you hear me?
whether you are working. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sure.
Uh,
Please
uh,
carry on.
so one of the key things that has come out is the sense of adaptability. Now, before I move on, can we do a small exercise? Can I ask all of the students who are present today if they can, in within next 1 minute, think of one word that they are expecting when they are joining a corporate, when they are joining their professions? What is that one word they're expecting from the organizations? Can we have it on the chat box, please? Okay, Simran says learning. Persistency, experience,
Akash says
cooperation,
cooperation.
sense of
Sense of security.
security. What else? Anybody else? Any new things that's coming up? Any new ideas?
No. So for nothing
Anybody
more.
else? Hard work.
Hard work, yeah.
So Preeta, I'm talking about what is your expectation the satisfaction. So I think satisfaction means job satisfaction, work ethics,
Hello.
what you expect from the organizations, not what the organization is expecting from you. I'm not talking from this side. I'm talking from your side. Growth, yes, okay. What else?
Someone says it's learning new things. It's Subhankar who says learning new things.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Hello.
Good
Hello?
working environment, good environment. Yes.
Hello. Hello, Ashish.
Adequate compensation,
আশিস
yes.
শুনতে পাচ্ছ?
Okay.
ভাই নেটওয়ার্কটা ভাই ফল করে যাচ্ছে।
Empathetic support, okay.
ডঙ্গলটা নিস। হ্যাঁ, একটু শুনে দুবার দুবার ফোন করে দিলাম।
Devotion, security, stability, right?
দেখো সিনিয়র তো ফোন
Devotion is a heavy word.
বাইরের লোকের প্রোগ্রাম না, আমার তো নয় না, কলেজে ইমপ্রেশন খারাপ হবে না।
Mr. Bhattacharya, your mic is,
Yeah,
if
I'm
you could
there.
keep your
Sorry.
experience. Okay, okay. Good. We've got a lot of team management. Pragna said team management.
Yeah.
We have got certain key words in this entire feedback that you've given. Now, let me ask you the next question. These are your expectations from your future employers. How do you think will these expectations change when you come back after, and when things go normal, and maybe when you join the corporate life? How do you think these things will change when you're talking about a stability, talking about a job security, talking about learning, uh, talking about collaboration, you're talking about ethics, work ethics? How will it change? How would the current scenario would have impacted you? All of your thoughts, individual thoughts that's there. Do you think this will change?
Pragya has written
Okay.
as the
Okay.
read it out.
Yeah,
What culture
I
and
saw
environment will
that.
change?
I saw that. Okay. Anything? Anybody else? So, okay, you have covered more or less the key elements to all of this. Uh, what this entire pandemic yes, with the situation, yes, we are going to focus on more virtual things. Even the structure of an organization is changing nowadays, right? Right. So if you look at what Mrs. Sarkar has said and what your expectations are at this moment, the entire pandemic scenario over the last 8-9 months have given us a different spectrum to each of these areas. When you're talking about a learning, when you're talking about a security, if you're talking about work ethics, if you're talking about collaboration, uh, all of these have brought out a new perspective due to this COVID situation. So when I said the word adaptability, the entire word adaptability will encompass all of these factors that you're thinking about. So what COVID or the current scenario, pandemic scenario, has caused is in each of these functions, in each of these areas that you have thought about, there have been changes. Somewhere the changes are more, somewhere the changes are subtle, but changes have happened. The first and foremost thing that as an HR, we would be looking at you, our future recruits, our future professionals joining, the corporate world and some of the organizations. The first and foremost thing is to understand those changes. You'll have to look into it. Either you understand it or you do a little research. You learn it from others through your network, through your connects, people in corporates, discussing with them. what are those changes? Some changes that we have discussed, you know that, and some of you have also given the feedback. The changes that have happened, and these changes are very, very prominent changes. Then there are changes which are also happening very subtly. Okay, so when we are talking about very prominent changes are shift in the style of business, shift in the style of working, you know, the shift in the style of team management. From HR perspective, we say employee connect, employee engagement, how we are keeping our employees engaged. So all these are very, very, very prominent changes where we can see that these changes have happened and how we are coping with it. Then there will be very subtle changes where we would be looking at the the final fitness of an employee. So what I mean by final fitness of an employee? So what we would be looking at, because we have already entered into a virtual world. you know Even 2 years back we could never imagine, as Mr. Sarkar very rightly pointed out, because I'm coming from an organization which is a professional services organization, and uh, you know we do the audit. We are the people who facilitate doing an uh, audit in organizations, and we do audit across multiple organizations, multiple industries. Okay, now this year most of the entire part of the audit, if not the entire part, almost 80% of the audit was done virtually. So these are opportunities, and this is one of the words that Mrs. Sarkar had pointed out very well, is innovation. You know, when we have situations like this, we come up with innovation. There are things which are there right in front of us, but probably we ignore them, or we don't actually look at them. The example she gave, like for example, today we have a virtual consultation with doctors. Today, your entire shopping is shifting from a brick and mortar sort of a shopping environment to a virtual platform. Even your daily food materials, like groceries and vegetables, groceries, even those who want to have fish, meat, everything is right in front of your door. Your medicines are being delivered at home, your foods are being delivered at home. So which are your daily needs? Leave aside things that you the items that you need for your standard of living, or which are luxury, or luxury items. We are talking about necessities. This is right in front of your door. So the entire business model globally is changing. What we would be looking at in our future employees are people who have already understood the change, accepted the change, adapted themselves to these changes. Your subject matters, whatever your academics are, that will remain the same. You specialize in your own field. But when you're joining an organization, the first and foremost thing is you need to have that adaptability. And since you've already seen the changes, understood the changes, accepted the changes, you should have the right attitude to understand what the changes are and what we are talking about, how these changes are affecting. So the entire shift would primarily be on how quick you are adaptable to situations. B is how quick you're bringing the right kind of attitude to be there. Pragna, I'll take on this question later. So, Mr. Bhattacharya, could you just note down these questions and just put
Yeah,
it across to me and Mrs. Sarkar so that we can answer those
definitely,
questions?
definitely. I'm noting on the points
Sure,
also,
sure.
questions.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, so this is primarily the crux of the thing. So when we are looking at you as our future professionals joining our corporate world, we are, first of all, we'll be looking at your technical side. That's fine. So that's a given proposition. What we also would be looking at is how you have adapted to this change, how aware you are to these changes, and you are bringing the right kind of attitude to be adaptable to this change. So the attitude and the adaptability should go hand in hand. I may be aware of what is happening across globally in terms of the job market, in terms of the industry, in terms of the service industry, how the business models have changed, how the job market have changed, how the roles are changing within the organization. I understand that, but I'm not really I don't have the attitude to accept those changes. Then that will be a challenge. One of the key things that we have found in millennials is the the high expectation of a quick TAT, turnaround time. Uh, Unlike the earlier generations where we had the patience to wait, probably because the world was not as fast. It didn't move at this pace which it is moving right now. So maybe our time was a little slower, and hence we could give time for everything to happen. So we knew that, okay, even if the next promotion is not happening in 2 years, it'll happen in 3 years or 4 years time. If this year the increment has not been good, so probably I'll stick on because this is an organization I want to work with. I'll carry on with the next 2 years and see. Today, what we have found is anytime, every every time, what happens is, the expectation, return on your expectation is very high, and that's something which probably will have to be addressed to. And I'm not saying that's bad, good or bad. It's not bad, it's not good. Let's take it as something which is here to stay with the millennials. But this is something which needs to be addressed too, and probably this is the thought process that we are trying to also share with the millennials. Okay, so overall, what I what what I would like to add to what Mrs. Sarkar said, because she has covered the entire gamut very nicely. What I would like to add on to this is one is that you need to have adaptability to any situation, and B, you need to have the right kind of attitude to be adaptable to the situations. Once you have these two, then multitasking, getting yourself upgraded, scaling up your skills, those things will come into place. That's from my side.
Okay, it's been very different from what Mrs. Sarkar said, or rather different again at the same point of time, little bit similar also as well. But what I can take out from your version is that the three important points, that is, if there's an imminent change, the individual should understand, accept, and adapt. Right. So there's a question of adaptability after understanding it and accepting those changes. Right. That means they should have a sense of positive attitude, which is, and again, as we know, in the behavioral theory terms, attitude is the only word which is 100%, adds up to 100. Right. Now, in that line, how do we think that this Gen Z can fit in, or reorient themselves, because they have got a cross-cultural learning, coming from different places at different point of time, having seen this pandemic in a different way because they've never seen in their life. None of us, in fact, have seen this in our early days also as well. But to see such a situation for the last 8-9 months, sitting at home only in front of a system, computer, taking classes or doing what, right? Not being able to move anywhere, not able to move to friends, not able to recreate themselves any other place to any other place, whatever they're doing this only online, right? How do you think they can adapt, or they can show a positive attitude in this when they join an organization? I leave this question to Mrs. Sarkar first, because she is from the retail industry wherein the personal interaction is much more. So, Mr. Sarkar, please, if you can kindly enlighten us on this particular ground.
Sure. I mean, as an MBA student, they must have all heard of VUCA,
Yeah.
volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So my suggestion will be not to have any preconceived notion, because earlier it used to happen that people had an, preconceived idea that, have heard something from my prior batch of students, or, someone in my relatives or my, neighborhood has done this job. So they have this kind of role and this kind of incentives and benefits. So all those preconceived notions is not going to help anymore. So how much open they are for the job role, whatever opportunities coming their way, because I understand opportunities this year are very different from what we used to happen in earlier years. So whatever opportunity is coming their way, it's very important to grab that opportunity, with whatever might they have, and then moving on from there, learning or creating something on that base, and being very open. Because if you are restricting yourself in your thought process, like, I cannot do this, or I cannot move out of this location, or I cannot do this, or I have this is my priority list. That's okay, but then you have to also match your strengths with your priority list. If you are a fresher joining any job, any industry, be it retail, non-retail, service, ITS, doesn't matter. If you're joining as a fresher, there will be certain things which you need to respond. That's where I find, whenever the freshers join, I find them lacking. That, it's not like they have the, skill issue, as we call it, will issue or skill issue. It's not like that. It's like they do not know when to respond. They do not actually know that if they're doing a job, if a responsibility has been given to them, when do they go back and say it's done or not done, or at what stage do they get back to their, the reporting manager saying, I'm having a trouble, I require help. Many a times it happens that, people wait till the last day, or the, deadline, or the review. So that respond part becomes very important, because if you do not respond on time, there is a team which is depending on you, and there is a team with whom, you are collaborating digitally. So all those things have given rise to the need that you respond immediately, be it a mail, be it a message, be it a WhatsApp, it doesn't matter, whether you are responding on time. And then if you are facing a challenge, how are you trying to find out a solution? Because many a times, being freshers or being junior, team member, it happens that people tend to look up to the seniors to find out a solution. They think that pointing out the problem has, ended their job role. I have already pointed out that, I could not do it, or I'm facing a challenge. It does not end there. How do you recover from that? How do you find a solution? Because most of the solutions are they're available within the set processes, or the operation parameters, or the SOPs of most of the companies. So how do we explore? If I'm facing a challenge, how do I recover from there? Just responding does not help. How do I recover from there? And if I'm facing a challenge, how quickly I can get back? Because everyone will fail, there will be mistakes. No one is going to tell you that no one has done any mistake in their life. That's how people learn. But if you are making a mistake, or if you require a support, don't wait till your supervisor asks you that what challenges you are facing. Just respond and then recover, and whatever solutions come to your mind, try all that. Do not wait for somebody to tell you, to direct you, to just give you instructions. I think that makes people thrive. So I have seen that over the years. So take initiatives. Even if you make mistakes, at least be accountable for that.
Okay, I think that's a very good answer which we have given, or probably the best solution which you have given. Many a times, I'm taking this charge, as you know, and I am facing this problem because students are finding it that saying, well, it is insurance, I'll not be there, or it is like this, a startup, I'll not be there. Whether it will grow or not, I'm not very sure of. I had a plan to join this company, the Fab Four or whatever, these are the normal things which we normally hear every time, right? And this has been the issue for so many, raging for so many years, right? I would request Mr. Tagore to kindly suggest us or kind of students how to take care of these situations, okay? Because they are all, I mean, they have to be placed somewhere today or tomorrow. Of course, you are also a part of that, right? And as you know, that we also have a situation like this in this pandemic, in this pandemic scenario. What will be your suggestion to the students, particularly? What should they do? Because you are also a student at some point of time, all of us, right? Right,
Exactly.
right.
So, I would like to go back on this question. But before that, I think there were a couple of questions that were asked. Do we want to take those questions at the end of the session, keep
I think it will
10, 15
be better.
minutes aside, and right now we go ahead with it?
Yeah.
That'll be better. Uh, so, what I feel is, to some extent, yes, we need to be, we as students, you need to be ready, be prepared for the opportunities that come to you. Because let's also face the fact that the job market, and especially if you're talking about the job market in East, has not been very encouraging. You know, in between there were a lot of jobs, uh, retrenchments that have happened, hirings have not happened, so you have more uh, skilled resources available in the market right now. It has gone up almost by 15 to 20%, and having uh, and these are people who have been skilled, who have got retrenched over the last 6 7 months, 8 months. So the availability in the job market is higher. So please understand, the market is recovering slowly. So we have just seen companies starting hiring once again. We would, in future there would be hiring also. But that since we are still in the pandemic zone, in the pandemic time space, the apprehension is still there. Okay, that how quickly the market would recover, and how quickly we will have more jobs available in the market and hiring. For example, in this year, our organization, the entire campus hiring order board, which we have followed over the last 4 5 years, the number of hires has been reduced. Across all the campuses nationally, pan India, what we are hiring this time, the campus hiring numbers have gone down. Okay, so it's one of the indications and one of the effect of the impact that has been that the pandemic has provided. So ensure that when your opportunities are there, you know you try to grab hold of those opportunities. And this is very, very critical for you, because all of you are millennials, and rather Gen Y, Gen Z. And for you, this is very critical, because the entire mindset is very, very what I would say, the expectations are very high at that point of time. But this is where you need to think about it and look at opportunities that's there. Now, if supposing you have your aspirations, so I'm not talking about totally compromising on your aspirations, and looking at what you are going to do, and going absolutely different from what you're aspiring. But if you want to look at your aspirations, you also need to do some homework. Now, here is one suggestion that I would like to give. Other than what you're talking about, when your campuses will happen, uh, start doing a connect, because now it's a virtual world. Whether you are on the job, off the job. It's a virtual world now. Get connected to people, especially on professional platform. We spend a lot of time on personal social media, social platforms, virtual platforms. We spend hours and hours on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Use some part of the time on LinkedIn or Glassdoor. LinkedIn is a very good platform to get professionally connected. Identify those dream companies that you want to work with. Maybe 5, 6 dream companies, 7 dream companies, and each of you should get connected to individuals there, seniors there. And when I'm saying connecting, just not to say good morning, good afternoon, happy new year, or happy Independence Day, happy Diwali. It's not that. You of course send out those greetings, but what I would expect all of you to do is to identify some of the key people. For example, if you are in finance and if you want to work in a Tata organization, find out who that not very senior, but a senior person in finance in Tatas. Get regularly connected to them. Do some research on those 8, 9 companies that you are talking about. Read about them, read about the financials, and keep asking questions to those senior people. In marketing, there is a term called recall value. So when you're constantly in touch with them and you're showing interest in that organization, asking relevant questions, which is in your line of study, as well as to the senior people, they would remember you. And in future, when there is some opportunity where they would like to fit, they are looking for some good candidate, probably they will think about you in case everything all the parameters fit in. So what I mean to say is, and this has come out very well for a lot of the students that I have given the suggestion to, keep in touch with them regularly. 6 months, 7 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line. These are the people who would have a recall value and who would be able to place you, who would be able to refer you if you get to understand if they have some opportunities, they would.
I
Second
have got a
is,
question. Okay.
yeah,
I have
yeah.
got a question
Uh-huh.
in this regard, which I would like to ask Mrs. Sarkar. Of course, I'll come back to you. That is the innovation in the way, the way of changing the job design and employee engagement as an HR recruiter. Is there innovation in the way of changing the job design and employee engagement a part of the HR recruiter in this pandemic situation?
I think this
I
is not
think my point
only.
is what they're trying to ask you is, or the what that do you innovate the situation now, the job design which you normally had. Say for example, you had this a particular job design X, and in this after this pandemic scenario, you have changed it to say X plus one or X dash, right? How is this X dash different from X?
So I will say not only the job design, at every stage, the what should I say, the lens has changed. Because when a recruiter, earlier went into a recruitment process, there is a set process that every HR goes through. There is a job description, there is a process they follow, they have certain criterias. In some cases, they are desperate, they do not get anybody in retailers, so they will poach from the, buddy retailers. So that used to be a very normal this thing. But now again, as I'm emphasizing again and again how it has changed. Now it's not enough, because now we want to know more as what that person has contributed individually. So we are asking more and more behavioral questions. Only psychometric or a typical interview does not elicit those kind of results. So individually, and I tend to find that many people in the interviews, they say questions like, we have done this. So I tend to ask them, what in that we that you have done, what has been
Right.
exactly your contribution? What have you done? Maybe you have, some students say that I have taken part in the placement committee. Some students say that I have arranged for a college event, a festival. Fair enough. what have you done in that phase? What exactly was your role? Maybe you have designed a marketing collateral. Fair enough, that was your role, but be specific. Don't always give me global picture saying we have done it and our college have achieved and our team has done. Please don't do that. Even in job interviews, that doesn't help, because we want to know what you are bringing to the table. What is your skill? What is your so as I say that I touched upon earlier also the soft skills, because as Mr. Tagore has already said that knowledge and skill, that K and S is already there. That's why we are you are in at the other side of the table. But what about the A part? Attitude. So how are you showing that in your resume? What are the examples that you bring in? Sometimes people write something in their CVs, like I'm a foodie. I've seen CVs where people write that I'm a foodie. I'm perfectly okay with that. But next time I ask him, what is how do what is the last food experience that you have, or do you write reviews in Zomato? And then the person is completely blank. So when someone says that he's a foodie, and then the next thing does not corroborate. I don't mind if you are into fashion blogging, or you are a foodie, or you have your own YouTube channel. That's perfectly all right, but please have something to substantiate that, because nowadays every person has their own YouTube channel, right? So what you have done in that YouTube channel, how you are utilizing that, what passion, because it does not always have to be linked with your job. It's not like I'm a commerce graduate, I'm a finance MBA, so my YouTube channel has to be about finance. No, might not be. But then whatever you are saying, it's like somebody says, I'm a reader, my hobby is reading, and then what is the last book that you have read, and that person is completely quiet. So that's like a joke about the recruitment process. But
Yeah,
please
right,
substantiate whatever you are writing in your CV. Your CV does not have to boast about you. We want to know you as a person. And then nowadays it's even more difficult, because I'm interviewing over Google Meet, I'm interviewing over Zoom. So it becomes even more difficult, because I'm not being able to see the body language. I'm just
right,
seeing a person, and I'm just seeing from his CV, and I'm trying to understand from the psychometric results what is going on inside his head. So
right.
give something about yourself, some stories, something. It does not have to be concocted. Anything real life, something which you have done. Because otherwise it becomes very difficult for the recruiter to understand, because otherwise you understand that if I'm interviewing 20 people all having similar background, similar CGPA scores, how do I choose? What is that one thing that we remember? And make your own branding. I mean, as Mr. Tagore absolutely, he correctly said, get networking and start networking. And one more thing, start reading. I've seen many of the people, they do not read. It's very surprising, because earlier we used to go to libraries. I personally had like British Council library membership to read books and all. Now I've converted that into digital, because it's much more easier for me. So nowadays I see students are not reading. So whenever I ask them what is happening, please, Google search will not give you that answer. It's not a 5 minutes Google search answer anymore. You have to read. So whatever field you are in doesn't matter. Your passion is whether it's web designing or something like retail or banking or finance operation, whatever it is, HR. Read something. Keep on reading. It will add up. Your knowledge always helps. So networking and your personal reading, I think these are two areas which will be there, always there.
Well,
Yeah,
well
that's
said.
I would just quickly add on to what Mrs. Sarkar said, and this is just not a knowledge sharing. This is an anecdote sharing. Two real life incidents I'll just quickly share, and this too happened with at campuses, you know, in two different campuses on two different years, but with the same partner. So in our organization, partners are like the directors, in part of the board of directors. They are the owners of the organization. So we normally have one partner, one or multiple partners on each of the campuses as part of the panel final selection. So they approve the final selection. So there's one gentleman, and I really am awed with him, because he has got thorough knowledge about everything in the world. So I remember in one of the campuses, in the CV, just like what Mrs. Sarkar said, in one of the CVs, the gentleman, the lady had written that she has great interest in Hindustani classical music, and she also had done some training. And after all the technical rounds, this gentleman, this partner, he asked her that, you are part of it, so it's your passion. So you know a lot of, you're interested and you regularly look into classical Hindustani classical music. She said, yes, sir, I am very passionate about. I go and watch those, those musical concerts. I continuously hear musical things, the musical on YouTube and everything. He then questioned her that there are these two ragas in rag in Hindustani classical music, which are similar, almost similar in structure. However, there is a difference. So, what is the difference? This girl went silent. So, first of all, he asked her that, do you know that these two ragas sound almost same? She said, yes, sir, I know. Then he asked him, what is the difference? So she couldn't answer. Then he told her, there's a komal and a kadi, notes which are to be there. And just because those couple of notes are different, that's the reason that ragas are different and differently named. The same person was in another engineering campus, in a tech campus, and this gentleman had written that he had played second division, second division cricket in CAB. So he was asked, if you have played club cricket, then what do you do? He said, I'm a medium fast bowler. So he said, medium fast bowler. So you know what is outswing, what is in swing? He said, yeah, you have to hold the seam like this, and you then he asked, why does the ball swing? If it's an outswinger, why does it swing up towards the off stump? And if it's a in swinger, why does it swing towards the leg stump? These guys started fumbling. Then the partner explained to him, this is the reason why, because you have to keep one side of the ball shine, and the shiny side the ball will swing that side. In both these cases, in one of the cases we hired the candidate, in another cases we didn't. But in both the cases, the observation from the partner came just bang on what Mrs. Sarkar said. That these are people who say they have a passion. A passion means you are thorough about it. Inside out. You actually spend time knowing things. If it is your passion and you don't know the basics, then maybe you are calling a bluff. So these were the two stories I just wanted to share. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, very good stories, of course, Mr. Tagore and Mrs. Sarkar. But I mean, I've never done any YouTube channel so far. Well, as you know, all many of you, both of you know that. But it's really very, very pragmatic, and that people write this, but when you ask these questions to them, they cannot answer it properly because they're not able to answer, differentiate, right? As you rightly said. And Mr. Tagore, being from the Tagore family, he knows a little bit of raga as I know him. Okay, in fact, he is my friend's younger brother, so I know him that way. So what he said, Komal and Kari, I understand that. Right. Now, my point is, if that is the case, how do you think that you can fit those people? Because you have to take those people at times, you're right. And if you cannot find out, no, can't differentiate so much of difference, right? Right. Today, how do you think they can fit into the system when you find that, well, they are a little bit, otherwise they're okay and they can be taken care of? Do you accept them, understand them again, as you said, and try to fit into a system, or you simply reject them?
I'll answer that. Integrity is a very important value for us. So if I find that somebody has just written something for making the CV look beautiful, I generally don't select, even if the other parameters are all okay. But if I sometimes feel that it's a genuine, the person has not got exposure in that area, or the knowledge is lacking, which something can be improved upon, it will not become a reason for rejection. But yes, as Mr. Tagore rightly said, bluffing will not help, because nowadays many of the students I'm seeing, they come out, even in their internship they have done, and I ask them something very basic. I will share another example. Just I, faced a few months back. Two students, both are in finance, both have done summer internship last year with a credit card company. And both of them done a telecalling kind of a job for summer intern. One of them actually told me how many people he called up, over how many days, how many people rejected, and he has actually written down. And he has got the letter also from the company to substantiate, all the mails and all. He had saved in a folder. He actually showed it to us. Another person, same job role, and comes and says, he had no clue other than the sales speech only, what he shared with the customers. Other than that, how he turned over, how many deals he converted, same role, same company, same college. So sometimes people become very, I should say, overconfident. Or as Mr. Bhattacharya said, some people decide that this is not for me. Very early in the job role or in the internship, they decide that I want to do something else, or have some lofty ideas about myself. It's not about me. So I will also share one anecdote from my own personal career. Like, when I joined retail industry initially, I was asked to do a store opening, walk inside a store. So initially I was like little reluctant, because I was in HR and I was thinking, what does a HR do in a store opening checklist? It's a purely operational thing. So their things are like, even the stock receiving, like there's a frozen product. If it is received, it has to be refrozen within 8 minutes of receiving. So that detailed checklist. So that one day checklist actually gave me more idea about the, stock receiving part, or the cashiering, or the customer service, than I could have done in my own entire, management training induction program, because I was also recruited from a campus 14 years back. So that one day floor walk along with that checklist gave me more clarity, on hands-on operation. And then that actually helped me to, design the training programs for them. Because if I do not know my target audience, if I always think of, these are skill sets that I carry, and I get so, what should I say, engulfed by my own skill set or by my own mastery, that I do not have time to open up to people. Because MBAs generally face a challenge when they go to a shop floor. What happens is, in manufacturing or in retail, there are people who have got much more higher years of experience, and they might be a simple graduate, or they might be a 12th pass mechanic who is working on a shop floor, who is absolutely fabulous about his own job. Now when he sees a new MBA joining, he sees him as a bacha who is highly paid but doesn't know anything. So there a conflict starts. So how you are open to them, how you can easily go up to them, you can speak up to them, how you can personalize your behavior, that helps a lot for you to learn. Because ultimately you have to learn the tricks of the trade. There is no other way about it.
Okay, I know this reminds me, when I joined my first job, okay, long time back, and that was in 1989, in a shop floor. The person who was there was a furnace, was in the reduction furnace, and he told me that, well, put your hand inside this furnace, it'll be, And I said, what is this nonsense? Well, no, you put it inside. I said, no, I cannot do it. That was the first day, I came to know that ragging takes place in the industry also as well. Okay. Now, as you rightly said, these people who are, say, class 12 passes, or class pass, or say mainly graduates, they take care of these MBA students, because they understand that they have learned these tricks much more than the students, right? I now put it to Mr. Tagore, that what you think, because you have been in so many places, what you said with Mr. Sarkar is absolutely correct. But how do you think the students should take care of themselves to come out of this situation? Because the
Okay.
topic says HR expectations from Gen Z. Okay. So, the Gen Z should be able to understand what exactly the HRs expect from them in this present scenario or post pandemic.
Okay. So again, I absolutely, again, Mrs. Sarkar was bang on. I fully agree with what she said. So one caution to all the students here. Please understand that the people who are sitting on the other side of the table, who are taking your interview, are experienced to do so. So if it means that an HR is sitting there, don't think he or she doesn't know the business. Maybe what Mrs. Sarkar said, since she has worked through the workflow, shop floor. Probably she knows all those checklists that's there. But all HRs today have to know the entire business very well. That's number one. So if you're talking about an HR round, of course, the HR would know. If you are talking about the technical rounds, understand that you cannot bluff your way out. And if the technical panel gets a slight hint that you're bluffing, remember they will start asking you, grilling you, and toasting you in such a way, and they will pull you out. And at one point of time, you will have to admit that, sorry, sir, I don't know it. And that will be really bad. So be upfront, be straight. If you don't know something, tell them, sir, I have not. Or if this is the point, I have read somewhere, I know this much of it, but I think it's not adequate, so I don't know beyond this. So, or I have very little knowledge about it, I have heard somewhere, and if you ask me, let me tell what I know about it. Or if you don't know about it, straight away say, no, I don't know it, but I'm ready to learn. So this is one thing that would bring you in a much better light than try to bluff your way around. That is one. Number two is, you have to, when you're facing an interview panel, you have to show your right kind of attitude and your acceptance to change. Brilliant example that Mrs. Sarkar said, and what Dr. Bhattacharya gave. On a shop floor, as an MBA, you will find when you're leading a team, there'll be, on 90% cases, there'll be people who will report to you, who will be part of your team, who would be much senior and experienced than you. So you need to find a right way around to learn skills from them. You are, as a manager, you would be as good as your team. So start learning. The more you start learning from them, rather than accepting that you are trying to put that barrier, saying that I am the boss, since I have been designated as a deputy manager or manager, or assistant manager somewhere, or I'm leading, I'm a team leader, it does not mean I need to boss around. For the initial few years, you'll have to adapt to the situation that it's just a designation and probably a compensation that you are higher from others. Others have a bigger knowledge bank, which you should take, you should take advantage of. You should learn from them. So these are the two things. So at the point of when you're interacting, at the point of the interview, you need to find out, you need to share these two thoughts, that you are simply honest in your answers. Whatever you know thoroughly. Whatever you don't know, come up straight, saying that, I don't know. Number two, you have to show the right kind of attitude, that you are adaptable, you are able to work in a team, you are able to work with people and take knowledge irrespective of from whom you're taking it. So I think those things have to come out.
Okay, I think the last question probably from my side, that is, you said about KSA versus KRA. Now, once the skills are attained or developed, then the results are supposed to come, right? In many cases, what we find, our experiences say that the skill sets are there, but the results are not achieved, or they're probably not being delivered. Now, how do you attribute this difference? One way, one, two, what can be done to take care of this? Because many of our students, I mean, I have seen this, once they have got good communication skill, the results are very good rather, but they are not able to crack the interview at some point of time. Maybe because of some reason, or after joining also, they're not very suitable in this particular place. So that the mindset It's not that, well, I have to change, have to change, have to change, right? They find that, well, that there's a dissatisfaction with the job design or whatever, right? Now, how do you attribute these points, and what is the suggestion to the students about this?
Uh, let me go first here. See, at the time of interview, when you are sitting for your campus, the first and foremost thing, even before sitting for the campus, when the job postings have arrived, you have the job postings announced by your campus, on which are the recruiters coming in, and if you have identified that you are sitting in some processes, try to know as much as possible about the job role. What is expected of you as a person in that role? The more you get to understand, the more you can think about it. Now, let us understand that, there's a very, very funny, nice one liner that my mom used to say, that marriage and job will never be 100% to your satisfaction. So it will be somewhere at 60%, somewhere at 70%, somewhere at 80%, somewhere at 90%. The rest is where you can adapt yourself. Now you have to evaluate yourself in terms of technical skills, in terms of soft skills, and match it to the job profile, the job role that has been announced. So before you sit for the interview, you need to be you need to evaluate it very strongly, very carefully, that the skill sets that you are bringing in and the job role that has been defined, whether they are almost matching, or to matching to what extent. If required, you'll have to go back to your campus to placement coordinator, who would get more information about it from the organizations. But you need to be sure of it. If it is matching 75% of your whatever skill sets you are having, you are an ideal candidate to sit there. Understand the rest 25%, you'll have to learn, you'll have to change, adapt yourself when you join the organization if you are selected. And also understand that the organization will also invest time, money on you to, get your skill sets more fitted into the, into the job role, because they also understand that you are fresher coming from the campus, so you might not have the working experience. So the two things that you need to do is, one, get detailed knowledge about the job profile and what is expected, the job roles, what are the key performance indicators, key responsibility areas of the job, and how it matches to your skill sets. Second is, at the time of the interview, if you have any questions, any doubts, speak up. Ask the interview panel that I had a question on my job role on this and this. What needs to be done? What is it? And take a conscious call. Please don't get into a situation where you join an organization and both the organization and you feel that we made a mistake. So it will not work out for anybody. It will be a wastage of time for the organization and a wastage of time and money for you.
I mean, a question follows in my mind again.
I can
Yeah,
add
please.
a little bit
Yeah,
to
yeah,
that.
please.
Also prioritize. What are your priorities can be very different from your friends. Some people, I different, strokes for different folks. So for someone, maybe the money is a priority. For someone, the experience. So for someone, the company name. For someone, even family can be a priority. It's each different for each one of you, and priorities change, with stages of life. So the moment I get a job offer of say 5 lakhs, I'm okay. But tomorrow my friend gets a job offer of 7 lakhs and then suddenly I'm not okay. It also happens. So what happens is we have seen in students, they have started measuring lives in success in terms of their not in achievements but the things they have. If I am having an iPhone, I'm successful. It's like
Yes,
that. So
yes,
that
of
doesn't
course.
help in life.
Right.
Doesn't help in life, because your life, your timelines are very different from your friends' life and their timelines and their backgrounds. And each one of you is different, because no matter what, ultimately when you are on a job role and you only see the success of somebody, you do not see the struggle behind. Generally people always tend to overlook on the struggle part. Please understand, if someone is being paid 10 lakhs, that person is also doing something extra which is not required in your role, which is paying you 7 lakhs. So that part we generally tend to omit. We just think that something has happened to my friend, so by virtue of natural justice it should happen with me also. Life doesn't go like that. So whatever you have got, you please build upon that. And it's not like you are not slave to your job, right? You are not bonded. So if you get a better opportunity, you will definitely go. But please understand, a career spans over a time of 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I cannot give you a career in 3 years. In 1 year or 3 years, I can just give you a project maybe, or a particular job, not a career. So if you take your career decisions based on whimsical, suddenly some name sounds good, or somebody told me that this is good. Many people give me these answers. Somebody told me that the working environment is good. I'm like, have you tried to find out? Have you visited the stores? Have you spoken to any of the employees? Or is it just like somebody told me something? Doesn't work in life. So as Mr. Tagore rightly said, find out as much as you can about the job role, about the company, and then match your priorities and your skills with that job role. I have seen people who have just refused to take a job offer just because it's in the second shift, like it will go up to 1 a.m. at night. Just because of that, I've seen people rejecting job offer, because for them the priority was not the job, but maybe was the timing. So for each one of them the priority is different. So please understand, don't compare yourself with your friends, will not help. And I've also seen people who have got the day zero offer, really regretting later. I've also seen somebody got placed at the very fag end and really prospered in the job. So there is no one size fits all. There is no formula here. It's only your perseverance, your dedication which will take you far. That is what I can say.
Yeah, and we're connected to that. Many students have a feeling that CTC, as you rightly said, CTC is very important. Okay. Now I have a question, because you are much more aware of this experience in this line. How do you justify the CTC for a fresher? Just for my curiosity, of course. How do you justify the CTC of a fresher? On what parameters, or what? How do you do it? If you can just kindly give us a hint about that, it will be, I think, good to the students to prepare for themselves.
Uh,
Yeah, please.
yeah, Miss. Okay.
Yeah, I'm audible, huh? Yes, please.
Yeah. Let me try to explain it. First of all, the concept of CTC is different for different organizations.
Right.
What are the components in
Absolutely.
it is
Absolutely.
different. What happens is, sometimes you'll find uh, you get a package of 6 lakhs and somebody is having a package of 4 lakhs, but the net cash component in 4 lakhs might be higher than what the other offer of 6 lakh is. There may be some built up cost that gets added to it, which finally does not percolate to your net take home, your cash components. So one part is that. So when you're talking about the job, when you're looking at the job profile, your skill sets, your priorities, please also try to understand what the breakup would be or the compensation would be. So you really don't want to get into a situation where you take up a 6 lakh offer and you find that finally when you have joined, there are your cash component comes down to somewhere around 4 lakhs or maybe 3.5 lakhs. Okay, so be sure about that. Second is, there is a certain cost involved in retaining and getting the sort of uh, getting the sort of benefits. So there's a mutual cost benefit uh, computation that is done internally, and it's not that we have different compensation CTC at different campuses for different batches. It's not there. What we are looking at, for example, in our organization, what we look at is the sort of skill sets and the sort of technicalities, the sort of soft skills that the person would bring in, and how would it value add, how would it impact our process. So we know that this person probably will come as a assistant manager or a deputy manager. We internally have a job profile, a KPI or a KRA, which we also have a, which we call in our organization, we call it as global talent standards. So at a deputy manager level, this is the global talent standard. This is exactly what needs to be done by a deputy manager, which covers almost 90% of the job role, and 10% is customized based on the function that is working, he or she is working in, the location, the sort of clients that they are handling, all of this. Now, based on that, there is a structure that is provided, and we find that this might be a fair value that we would pay to a person who is joining at that level, bringing that sort of a skill sets. So based on that, this entire compensation structure is built in, and normally we find that it is a fair market value that we are providing to the new joiners from campus. Of course, depending upon the campus, the CTC might vary. So that campuses are identified as tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, like this. So based on which tier the campus is in, the compensation might vary. However, within the same campus, within the same batch, the compensation will not vary. It will be the same across, because of the reasons that we have done our internal calculations, saying that what is our designation, what is the job career level that we are bringing in this person, what is the experience level, and based on that we have earmarked our compensation.
Okay, the last question probably, which I would like to ask you is, how do you think this market will open up a little bit for these students who are in the final batch, for both for you and Mrs. Sarkar? When do you think that the students can be inducted into the system, or how things can be moved, Because whenever I talk to people nowadays, most of you, Mr. Tagore or Mrs. Sarkar, both of them are working from home, and most of the HRs or other people are working from home. Though many of these shop floors have opened up a little bit, they're working at 60% capacity or 50% capacity, as I'm told. But when do we think that things will really move up, open up and brighten for the students in the near future? When do you expect it? Because you are in the industry, it is much more known to you than to me, probably. Mr. Sarkar, please.
It's very difficult to actually, comment on this part because it's really, unprecedented. But I think from financial year, 21-22, we are hoping to see better recoveries. And already the festive trend was better, than what we expected in East. So we are hoping for a better recovery from, April 2021.
Okay, Mr. Tagore, please.
Yeah. So we are in a different, industry sector. Mr. Sarkar is in retail, and I'm primarily into professional services. For us, the virtual world is as good as a working
Yeah,
from
we are all
home is
virtual
as
work.
good as working from office.
Absolutely.
So we still have our offices closed in terms of people want to, if they want to go, they can go, but we are all working from home.
No, but I'm from
Hence,
working from office. I'm in office only.
so you may
So
be
that has become
lot of
a new differentiator in industry.
exactly
People who are
Absolutely.
going to office and people who are staying at home.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
uh,
For a change, of course.
absolutely. So given that sort of a scenario, it's business as usual for us. So all the processes, including the recruitment processes, everything, hiring processes would be as usual. And I think most of the service industry, the hiring process per se would remain the same. Instead of a physical interview and getting in front of a campus, going to the campus and taking a physical interviews, being there in person, we have just switched to a virtual platform. And this season we already had our campus hirings, and all the campus hirings, including tier 1 and tier 2 campuses, we have done it virtually, which means all our technical panel was on a virtual platform with the students, and we arranged for that, and we have gone for the hiring. The question is not about the process, the question is the numbers, because the numbers are a direct effect of what the pandemic has given. It's an impact that the pandemic scenario has given to business, the revenue, the market, and based on that, our manpower hiring and recruitment targets would be trained out. So since the business itself got impacted during the first 2 quarters of our last quarter of last year and first 2 quarters of this year, and probably will roll into the quarter 3 of this 2021. Hence, most of the organizations are very cautious. They're very cautious in hiring. So the numbers would not be there. However, the recruitment process will go on as usual. So for the students, what I would say is you would also need to look at on-campus as well as off-campus hiring. Okay, and if you want to go for off-campus hiring, this is the time where you have to start connecting with people, connecting with the organizations where you have done your summer internship. If you have done some other projects with some organizations, reach out to them, start working with them, getting connected to your dream organizations, so that you are ready for both on-campus as well as off-campus hiring.
Okay, I think we have almost come to the end of this session. I thank both Mr. Sarkar and Mr. Tagore, right, for their time and the consideration. Keep my request to address my students and say and deliver on a topic which is very pertinent, probably, I feel, right. I thank all the participants who are here, and I think having the patience to listen to what we discussed, right. I take this opportunity to introduce my colleague, Mrs. Sudarshana Ghosh, who is also here, and she will. I request her to give a vote of thanks to both Mr. Sarkar and Mr. Tagore. Over to Mrs. Ghosh.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya, Ms. Silva, and Mr. Tagore. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure the students benefited because your advices were very, very, down to earth, and I hope the students benefited. And your anecdotes also had a message, and I'm sure the students got it. My biggest takeaway from Ms. Silva Sarkar's deliberation was that the attitude of the millennials, they have to change. Mr. Tagore also said that they have very little patience, but very high expectations. And that is applicable to our students also. My second takeaway was that importance of multi-skilling, that is very important. And as Ms. Silva said, that bonding and team support, these are also parameters by which today's HRs will do your appraisal. Also, you have to do self-learning, and learning of various courses through online also is measured about your total passion towards your job. What I liked about Mr. Tagore's thing is that he said that students have to understand that changes have come, they have to adapt to those changes, and they have to rightly apply that. He also suggested that students should get themselves connected to LinkedIn and such professional sites instead of social media. And also they should be upfront, honest, and be clear about what they say while being interviewed. Thank you, both of you, Please do come again when the actual situation improves and we are allowed to bring in our guests for a session. And I do hope that you'll be part of our recruitment process as well.
Yeah,
Thank you very much
that
for
goes
your
without saying. Both of them are there already. That's a different issue. I mean, that with both of them, as I say, I don't send I not only send good morning messages to both of them, but I also talk to them regularly. I'm again thankful to both of you. Anyway, I mean, now
It's a pleasure.
one session is over. Alok and Silva, please. I'm thankful to both of you again personally.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It
Thank you
was
so
a
much.
pleasure
It-
interacting with the students.
Happy Saturday evening, and I mean, looking forward to a
Same to you.
good Sunday morning again.
Same
Okay.
to you.
Same
Take
to you.
care and stay
Same
safe,
to you.
everyone.
Same
Yeah,
to you. Thank
stay
you.
safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. 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 Thank you. Bye. I just